The U.S. and Iran are exchanging fire again, both sides making moves that violate the pact made to end violence in the region, threatening to completely unravel their ceasefire agreement. For more on this, we're joined by our Reggie Cecchini in Washington. Reggie, what do we know so far about the strikes that happened just overnight?
Well, Jaden, U.S. Central Command says that it carried out 90 different strikes on various coastal regions around Iran over a several-hour period, and this came after Donald Trump had issued a warning earlier in the day that there could be additional strikes, and if there were going to be strikes, that Iran would be hit hard. According to Central Command, it was air defense systems, it was surveillance assets, it was missile and drone storage sites, naval capabilities, and military logistics infrastructure that were a part of this latest campaign. But it is worth pointing out that the president and the Pentagon in recent weeks have repeatedly claimed that they have already decimated or obliterated much of Iran's military infrastructure. So the Pentagon is saying, look, whatever they're rebuilding, we're able to go back and target. And this is all in response to or retaliation against what Iran has been carrying out in terms of attacks on vessels in the Strait of Hormuz over the last several days. The United States arguing that that goes against the Memorandum of Understanding, which it said in the first place was supposed to be performance-based.
And from it all, Reggie, Iran is claiming that the U.S. has committed a war crime. Does that claim hold any water?
Well, I mean, look, part of the reason is because they are saying that civilian infrastructure was struck by the United States. U.S. Central Command does not say that it hit anything in terms of civilian infrastructure, but the Iranians claim that two railway bridges between Tehran and Mashhad were damaged overnight, and say crews are on scene actively trying to fix this, but they argue that that does constitute a war crime. The question is going to be, is there any attention paid to that by the international community? But it is important here that to note that those two rail bridges that were hit, number one, they are links that Iran uses to get out of the country and ultimately towards China. But number two, it is also the link to the city where the former supreme leader is set to be laid to rest on Thursday. And while Iranian officials say it won't have any impact on the kind of ceremony itself, it does, call into question the ability for people to potentially get there. And they argue that this is simply another moment for the United States to be kind of caught up in worldwide criticism, at least in the eyes of the Iranians.
Among his list of threats, Reggie, Trump has now said he will take control over the Iranian oil system. Is that even possible?
Well, I mean, look, we've been hearing this from the president now for the last several months that the United States could take over what's known as Karg Island. It's about 55 kilometers off the coast of Iran. But you're right, it is the heart of the oil system. It processes about 950 million barrels of oil per year. And if the United States were to take over it, number one, it could risk taking tens of millions of barrels of oil per day off of the global market system. And that could, spark another increase to oil prices around the world. We've seen that increase over the last couple of days, just with the kind of fear that this is putting into the mind. But military experts and former Pentagon officials have also told me, Jaden, that this would put a significant target on the American military, because this is not kind of a one-and-done situation. The Americans would have to set up an operation there in order to either take control of the island or dismantle the infrastructure. And that would put them in a position of potentially being struck by Iranian military or by the IRGC, which is essentially in control of that island. So it's a threat that the president has made, but the consequences could be significant.
Before we let you go, Reggie, this exchange of gunfire again, what does this all mean for talks between the two countries?
Well, I mean, the president, when he was speaking at NATO, made a point to say that, look, the ceasefire or the Memorandum of Understanding is essentially over, arguing that Iranian people, quote unquote, are scum and that they don't know how to make a deal. But at the same time, just yesterday on Air Force One, said that Iran potentially is looking here to make a deal. And we know that there are supposed to be broader negotiations here to deal with those really thorny issues, including Iran's nuclear program. Those are supposed to be handled by Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff. The reporting suggests that those conversations are still going to go forward. It's not clear, though, how far they can go and if the Iranians are actually and ultimately going to play ball, given the fact that they have come out repeatedly to say that when negotiations start up, the Americans carry out strikes. So it's unclear where things stand in terms of the ceasefire or the Memorandum of Understanding, which were supposed to be gateways to a more permanent peace deal, which now appears to be up in the air.
Okay, we know you'll be following this story closely for us. Global's Reggie Cecchini in Washington. Thanks for this update.